if you let it happen, you will be left with no money if you leave it up to the lawyers
Wow.
to settle the case.
So people originally get married for love, and then it winds up to be about the money.
Right. Yeah. At the end of the day, I think not. Yes, it's about
and the children are in between.
well, you know what? The children are the money in a lot of instances.
Right.
In my opinion, if you take the money, children are sold. I don't care what they say.
What do you mean by that?
We sell children in the court because if you would take out right now, whoever gets the child gets the money.
True.
So even if a person says, you know what, I really like to get divorced and start dating again, and it would be nice for me to only have my kids half the time.
Right.
But if I do that, I lose all this money that I could be getting because it's all or nothing.
Right.
There's no like, well, you're taking the kids half, so you'll get half the money. So there's an incentive. So even if they don't want the child full time, you have to fight for the child in order to get the money. And of course, as we know, the state wants more money collected because of this Title 4D funding, which is a lot of people don't understand. The more the state collects from somebody from child support, the more they get the state gets money back from the federal government.
So that works that if you collect $1 from me, the state gets what, $3 or $4?
Yeah, I think it ranges from 60 cents to $3, depending on where you are in the United States. So really, there should be a conflict of interest, in my opinion, because you're having the judge who's paid by the state.
Of course.
And yet they're ruling on what could bring more money into them.
For the state.
And you'll notice if people go to court, they'll always say, well, whatever we agree, let's agree to do the money through the child support agency.
Okay.
Well, they want it to go through them because that's how they determine how much money the state is going to get. You know, they don't want you. They don't want you.
That sounds like corruption to me.
In my opinion, it is corruption. They also now remember how many millions and millions of dollars are being transacted in New York State for child support, and they're always a week behind. So now they're collecting interest on all that money. They also have a service fee every year. I believe it's $30 a year for them to handle this money. You multiply that times thousands of people. Divorce is a business.
Wow. I'm almost speechless.
Divorce is a business. And a lot of people don't understand.
But let me keep it professional. You're listening to the GoPro Radio Network. If you'd like to call in and chime in on fathers and lack of due process that fathers receive in the court system and family court, and if you're married, you go through the Supreme Court, you can call us at 347-989-1737. That's 347-989-1737. Do we have any commercials you want to throw in right about now, engineer? Okay, so we're going to go to commercial, and we'll be right back with our guest, Gary Jacobs. And he's going to tell you more about the lack of due process in fathers in court. Thank you.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
This summer sizzles on the GoPro Radio Network with hot new shows and cool personalities. Every Wednesday live from 4 to 5 p.m. it's the Nerdy Girl Wellness Hour with Amelie Lamont. From 5 to 6 p.m. it's the BCS Experience. History, arts, culture, politics, in review and discussion with Byron C. Saunders. From 6 to 7 p.m. it's We the People with Sunny B. Sutherland. From 7 to 8 p.m. it's the Earl Morgan Hour with Earl Morgan. From 8 to 9 p.m. it's Kate Thompson Live with Kate Thompson and Eric Payne. From 9 to 10 p.m. it's the Sexy Party Show with Mr. Lucario, Miles Cunningham, and Anita G. Listen to the fastest growing network in the galaxy. Visit www.goproradio.com. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head. The views and opinions expressed on GoPro Radio Network shows are solely those of the speakers and are not necessarily the views or opinions of GoPro Radio Network Inc. or its affiliates. These broadcasts are provided on the understanding that they do not constitute professional advice or services. Individuals who speak on these broadcasts express their own opinions, experiences, and conclusions. GoPro Radio Networks and its affiliates do not necessarily endorse or oppose any particular opinion or conclusion discussed in these broadcasts. You may not edit or modify or redistribute these broadcasts in any way without the express permission from GoPro Radio, LLC. GoPro Radio assumes no liability for any of your activities in connection with our broadcast, or for your use of these broadcasts in connection with your website, computer, smartphone, tablet, iPad, or future listening devices. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
You're listening to We the People with Sonny B. Sutherland every Wednesday from 6 until 7 p.m. right here on the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. That's right. We got to give the people not only what they want, but what they need, and what the people need is the truth. I think it's time now, Gary, that the people hear the truth. Because this propaganda radio, regular TV, television, radio, videos, even some places, a lot of places on the internet, they don't give you the truth. Let's take a few callers. Let's take caller number 1 and see what caller number 1 wants to chime in on. Hello, you're on the air. Hello, caller number 1. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Your name and where you're calling from.
This is Miss Snyder calling from New York. Just want to say your show is greatly needed. The atrocities going on with children must be addressed.
Right.
And the judicial corruption. I am so glad that you're coming forward with this show. I just want to commend you guys. Thank you.
And thank you for calling. Keep listening. We have caller number 2. Caller number 2. Welcome to the show. Hello, caller number 2.
Hello.
Yes, you are caller number 2.
Yes, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name's Chris from New York. Actually, Gary's a good friend of mine. I'm so happy to hear him on that show.
Right.
He helped me out a lot with my process that I'm going through right now with the court system and my kids.
Is it all right if I ask you what are you going through?
I have joint custody with my kids, and my ex didn't let me see my kids for 5 months, broken order, and the judge doesn't do nothing about it.
Right.
This is a perfect. I say thanks for calling, Chris. And one of the things I wanted to get to is what can fathers do to protect themselves. But here's an example of a loving father.
Right.
And as he says, my ex-wife does anything that she wants. She breaks court orders. She breaks the rules. And I do something or even perceive to do something, and all of a sudden I'm the bad guy, and they're so quick to withhold somebody's parental rights. And Chris, when you have a child, he's got a young child, and you withhold that person for 2, 3, 4, in his case, he's going on 5 and 6 months. There's nothing you can do to ever get that time back. And I feel horrible.
Right. That's right. They're breaking the bond between the parent and the child.
And you know what? That's part of what they try to do, because what they do, Sonny, is they break the bond. And as you know, which maybe we'll talk about later, then they hire a law guardian or an attorney for the child. And the new law for that is, let's ask the child what they want. Who asks a child what they want? The judges always say, don't involve the child.
Right.
But now they get a law guardian. In Chris's case, when his child is old enough, say 2 or 3, they meet with a lawyer who's not even a psychologist.
What is a 2-year?
Right. They've broken the bond, and then they say, who do you want to live with, mommy or daddy? Well, he's already broken the bond with the father. Of course she's going to say, I want to live with mommy.
Right, because mommy's the only one that's there.
Now you have 2 lawyers fighting against you in court. And all you want to do is be a loving,
with your child.
And that's all. And Chris, I feel sorry for your case, and hopefully, hopefully we can work through this. But as you know,
not hopefully, we are going to work through this, Gary.
Sir. We will work through it. But okay. Keep up the fight, Chris. And Chris,
what I want to say about this whole situation, guys, was the fact that the judge in my case, wanted to make sure my daughter. I had video of my wife holding my daughter so she couldn't come to me. My daughter ripping her arm away, running to me, and wouldn't let go. And the judge still doesn't do nothing.
The judges are part of the problem,
what else
Chris.
do you need?
Chris, the judges are part of the problem. Not all judges are bad. Not all judges are good. Just like not all mothers are bad and not all mothers are good. We're going to fight through it, okay, Chris? We just don't want you to give up, because there's a lot of stories out there where guys feel that there's no answers and they give up totally. And that's going to be in another program.
Absolutely. And I just want to thank God there's people like Gary around that help everyone out with this. And thank you, Gary, because you're definitely a big support with me.
You're welcome.
Gary's a great guy. Okay, we're going to take another caller.
Thanks, guys, and,
thanks for calling, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take another caller. You're listening to We the People right here on the GoPro Radio Network. Caller. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, hello. How can I help you? Where are you calling from, and what's your name? Your name, please. Hello. Okay,
Hello?
We're gonna move
Hello?
on. You're listening to We the People, and we have Gary Jacobs. He's a father, and he's been through some very disappointing, and I mean the system has really let you down. Is that right, Gary?
Absolutely. You know, when I went, you're brought up, you know, you're raised to respect the court system. And I always thought when you want
But
justice,
is that a good thing?
you go to court.
Is that a good thing for people to
I
be
don't think so.
hypnotized from very young?
Actually it gives you a false sense of reality.
Right.
Because the reality is you do not get justice in court, especially in family court. Family court, it's a circus. The judges, I call them judges, they really do whatever they want to do.
You know, family court is called kangaroo court.
Kangaroo court, they call it a circus. You know, it's really like a third world nation. The judges do whatever they want to do. They don't follow the law. And you know what they say? You know, the worst case scenario is, all right, the guy goes and he appeals it. Okay, so he appeals it and he comes back in front of me and I screw him another time.
Right.
They don't get fired. They don't get rated. You know, there's no way of rating what's a good judge or a
Well,
bad judge.
you bring up an interesting subject, and you recently ran for office out in Suffolk County.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff, I'll just use the word stuff, going on out there. But you understand the whole mechanism behind the scene that a lot of people don't see in terms of family court, how the judges are picked and what they do, and how they do not sit in judgment of justice.
No. It's political. You know, judges, which doesn't make sense to me, but you elect the judge.
But don't the judge get paid from the taxpayers' taxes?
They do, but you know, the judges have, basically they say they have absolute immunity, and there's ways that, you know, you've found to sort of go around that and try to go to the federal courts, but really judges basically have immunity. We're talking now about suing the president of the United States.
Right. So what you're saying is that a judge, it's like having a job, that you can do anything you want on the job, mess up as many times as you want, and you can't get fired.
Right. It's listen, policemen who are really putting their lives at risk. But you can sue a police officer very easily for civil rights violations.
Right.
You can sue Barack Obama is now, they're talking about suing him, but you can't sue a judge. How does that make sense? Because, you know, having the threat of a lawsuit keeps people in line, whether you agree or not. But there is, you know, if you do something wrong, you got to be worried about it. The judges don't have to worry about it because they can't be sued. So they do whatever they want to do. A lot of them have their own agendas.
Right.
That they take out their personal relationships with other attorneys, and people say, "Oh no, that's not true." It's absolutely true, and every lawyer will tell you when you go to them, "Oh, that's a good judge. I have a good relationship with that judge. I've been to that judge's fundraisers. I've gone on vacation with that judge. You know, I helped that judge in another case."
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be fair when they're sitting on a case.
Right. Well, first of all, a lot of lawyers just say that, and it's not true because lawyers are the best salespeople out there.
Right.
And they'll just try to suck you in. But, you know, there is some truth sometimes that it's the relationship. If the judge likes the lawyer, they're going to rule on you. But it shouldn't be like that. It should be the facts of the case. Really, the case, in my opinion, should be shared parenting, should be the presumption of shared parenting. And there's a group now trying to start a party, the shared parenting, equal parenting party. Greg Fisher is putting that together.
Right.
And they're trying to get on the ballot with the.
And where's that?
They're doing that out on Long Island in Suffolk County.
Okay.
And if somebody's interested in getting involved in the shared parenting party, they can just go to Facebook and Facebook Greg Fisher.
Right.
FISCHER, shared parenting, and that's something that he's doing because we realize that a lot of this is political, which is why.
But there's a lot of stuff going on out there on Long Island. I mean, not only just Suffolk County, but Nassau County too, because they seem to be almost one of the same in terms of the way they deny people due process. I've done some cases out there, and I'm sorry, they treat people really bad.
They have no qualms about taking away your. They have no qualms about taking away your constitutional rights in Nassau, Suffolk County. And I don't mind saying it on this radio. It's being recorded. Somebody can challenge me on it. They absolutely violate your constitutional rights.
And I would agree with you.
And they violate your due process.
Yes.
They do whatever they want to do. And we have rogue county prosecutors like Kathleen Rice, who just absolutely makes it her agenda to go after men. Doesn't care what it costs the county. It's to move up her political career.
Amazing. All right, you're listening and you're viewing We the People right here on the GoPro Radio Network, and I believe we have another telephone call. Telephone caller, what is your name and where are you calling from? Hello. You're on the air, caller. Okay, we can see you're calling from a 516 area code. 516, you're on the air. All right. And we're going to keep going.
Again?
Oh, I got you again. Hello.
That was me again. I'm listening in, and I'm just supporting you guys because everything you're saying is so critically true, and the judiciary is something we really, really have to work on creating mechanisms to make them more accountable.
Well, what is your experience? What has been your experience with the judiciary, as you put it?
Oh, the judiciary, forget it. You know, like you said, you have good judges and you have corrupted judges. I tried to get a judge recused, and in good faith, she, caused such blockage in the initiation of a court case. She used confusion to cover fraud. And once you see that in the beginning, I tried to recuse her. She didn't recuse herself, so now I have to go to the Senate Judiciary. I have to, just focus more time on the corrupted judge than getting to the case.
Well, don't you think that this is a disservice to the people who are paying their tax? They're honestly paying their taxes, and they're not getting the service. They're getting misrepresented, even in court, with these corrupt judges. I mean, what are we paying our taxes? What are we paying our taxes for? Why do we have to pay so much tax on gasoline, on cigarettes, on tolls, on our driver's license, on our registration, on our insurance, and we're not getting represented by these so-called elected officials or judges that are supposed to protect or balance our rights in a situation? How do you feel about that? And you're a female.
Yeah, I believe we have to work together with all these grassroots groups, and there has to be a, so to speak, like a human rights commission that when a judge acts criminally, has to be prosecuted.
We would hope that would happen, and in fact, that Sonny and I were discussing. They had a Moreland Commission, which the governor, New York State. I see you're calling from 516, so you're out on Long Island. But the governor was talking about the corruption in New York State and how bad the corruption is, including all the elected officials. And he did this Moreland Commission to investigate public corruption of elected officials. And when all of us so many people put in testimony to testify about corrupt and biased judges, that they ended up screening it out and saying they would no longer accept any testimony from people who want to discuss corruption in the judiciary. So they blocked out the whole thing, saying it was so bad. Basically, they didn't even want to look at it anymore. Which says how deep the problem is. It was so deep that I don't think it wasn't one or two bad people, that they just didn't. There's no way to address it. It's so big at this point.
Well, you know something. We're up here. We're beating up these public officials and these people that are supposed to safeguard our rights. And right now, I think it's the people. I think the problem lies with the people because we've loaned our power to the government to protect us. And guess what? They're not protecting us. It's time for us to take our power back. We need to get these people out of office, whether it be by voting them out or protesting them out or petitioning them out. We need to get them out because it's time. We need to fix the courts.
Right.
If the courts are going to administer justice in a fair way, we need to make sure that we monitor and keep them accountable to the people.
Right. There needs to be outrage. And, the problem with this system is that, when people get so messed up by the system and they're just so beat up and knocked down and they finally get done with it, they lose their money. Many times the men lose their children, they lose their house
and their lives,
and they're basically their lives are done. Many people commit suicide, as we know. They go through depression, and now we're saying, hey, let's go out there and protest. And they say, you know what?
This is the part that propaganda media doesn't talk about. That a lot of guys commit suicide.
Over 300 people a week in the United States, according to statistics now for the Divorce Corp movie. Over 300 people a week commit suicide who are going through,
and that's a shame,
a divorce.
And this is majority men or men and women?
Majority of it's men. And you and I have known people who have committed suicide.
Yes.
I just had somebody, Paul Levine, who was an advocate for family law reform this year, ended up committing suicide. It just destroys people, and they don't care about this. It doesn't, they don't look at that. A lot of people say, let's look out for the children. But you know what? Men deserve to have a life too.
Yes.
And be happy as well. It's not all about the children. There's a happy medium.
But guess what?
There.
Guess what? I'm not going to beat up on the system 100%. Men, if you're out there, you're listening, you have to get out. You have to find a candidate. You have to support that candidate. They need financial support. They need your bodies. They need you to be in meetings. They need you to protests, rallies. They need you to support them. And if we don't support them, how can they fight for us? If we leave them out there with the corruption, with the criminals, with the blood-sucking maggots, how can they fight for us?
We need to get behind candidates who support.
Now, you ran, didn't you? Did you get a lot of support?
I did run it, and sadly, I did get support from many people, not as much as I should have, being that over 90% of men lose custody in court. So many lives are destroyed. You would think
what's with the men?
You would think that somebody running for office would get a huge support from, and I actually got support from judges. I did get it from lawyers, and I did get it from a lot of people who are going through. But I should have had hundreds of thousands.
You got support from the so-called enemy?
I actually did.
But what about the men?
I did. There should have been thousands of men from all over saying, "Hey, this guy's been through it. He's on our side.
Right.
Let's get behind them." Unfortunately, some of them did, but not enough of them did. And I think you have a candidate that you're working with, that does understand the system and knows what needs to change.
Exactly.
And that's who people need to get behind.
Right. Well, we're going to take a little short break. Hopefully, my candidate will call up and we can talk about what's happening in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and that's where he's running for state committeeman. And you're listening to the GoPro Radio Network. This is We the People, and we are responsible for the content in this program and not the GoPro Radio Network. We'll be early.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
This summer sizzles on the GoPro Radio Network with hot new shows and cool personalities. Every Wednesday live from 4 to 5 p.m. it's the Nerdy Girl Wellness Hour with Amelie Lamont. From 5 to 6 p.m. it's the BCS Experience. History, arts, culture, politics, in review and discussion with Byron C. Saunders. From 6 to 7 p.m. it's We the People with Sunny B. Sutherland. From 7 to 8 p.m. it's the Earl Morgan Hour with Earl Morgan. From 8 to 9 p.m. it's Kate Thompson Live with Kate Thompson and Eric Payne. From 9 to 10 p.m. it's the Sexy Party Show with Mr. Lucario, Miles Cunningham, and Anita G. Listen to the fastest growing network in the galaxy. Visit www.goproradio.com. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head. Why are you paying for radio? Are you serious? GoPro Radio offers content for free. Go to www.goproradio.com and listen to original, irreverent, and exceptional talk shows. It's free. Go to www.goproradio.com now. It's that simple and free. www.goproradio.com. Listen to the voices in your head. Oh, and did I mention it's free?
You're listening to We the People with Sunny B. Sutherland every Wednesday from 6 until 7 p.m. right here on the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. Oh boy, we're growing real fast. What kind of professional am I and I don't have my paperwork together? This is the GoPro Radio Network. We're broadcasting live out of Jersey City, New Jersey, out of the GoPro Radio Network studios. And we're having fun here. My guest sitting here in the studio is Gary Jacobs. He's from Suffolk County out in Long Island. We're talking about men and lack of due process in the court systems, in family court and Supreme Court. And if I can have a little bit of background music, I'm going to attempt to do this little commercial for Disappearing Voices. Mr. Engineer, can you give me something, a little anything? Don't forget to watch the GoPro Radio Network, We the People, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Tell all your friends about it. Guess what? a must-to-see mini documentary? Oh, yes. It's a short timeline of the planned destruction of black radio. It's not the whole story, but it's pretty darn close. I guarantee it will keep you glued to your seats, to your computer, to your smartphone, or whatever device you're using. You can view it right now on YouTube. Just type in Disappearing Voices at YouTube. And, oh, man, it's going to blow you away. And guess what? I'm in it, too. If you'd like to pick up the whole documentary of Disappearing Voices, you can contact the GoPro Radio Network at 212-696-8562. Once again, that's the special prices coming up. 212-696-8562. I'm not even going to tell you the price. Call them up and tell them I sent you, and you'll get a special discount of Disappearing Voices. And that's the planned destruction of black radio. It taught me a lot. Let's get back to our program, We the People. And I'm waiting for my special guest to call from Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and is having a little bit of difficulty, but I think he's on the line now. Let's open up the line and see if this is my special caller. Hello, caller. You're on the air. This is We the People. Sonny Sutherland Sr. speaking. Who do we have? One more time. You're on the air, caller. All right.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Hello.
Hi, this is Don?
No, this is Sonny.
Can you hear me? This is Don?
I hear you, Don. What would you like to say?
Yep.
Don?
Well, first I want to say, first I want to say how great Gary is. He's helped me out tremendously in my case.
Yes, he is.
Unfortunately, I have about 14 more years of injustices against me unless something changes in the court system. I think, there's a number of things that Gary had touched on. We had actually reached out to the Moreland Commission as well, which I think people should understand, about corruption in the Judiciary Committee with Helene Weinstein. And they said that there was no conflict of interest, or there was no issues from a corrupt perspective. But we do know that Helene does her campaign funds are mostly received from trial lawyers. And, of course, trial lawyers want to see more litigation and not less. So she has a distinct responsibility to them to make sure that no laws change that would reduce litigation costs.
Right, you don't get more of a conflict of interest than that. I mean, that's a
clear I really don't understand. And I really don't understand how that is not corruption.
Well, but, first of all, the commission... The commission was by the same people that are committing the corruption. And what we're trying to say here is time for the people to wake up. We don't need them to police them. Okay, we don't need them to police each other. We have to police them. Yep. And it's time that we stand up and we say, no, we're not having it. We'll have our own People's Commission, and we're going to use facts, figures, and testimony from people that have suffered at their hands. I mean, this is what needs to happen, and I don't know why we're sitting back and we're letting the people that we're complaining about control or prove to us that there's some accountability. How can we do that? That's asking the police to police the police.
I think the issues that me and Gary have seen is that there's a couple of us, let's say a handful of us, that are actively involved and continue to be actively involved.
Great, I like it.
Then we have other people that are just looking for help when they're in the middle of it.
Right.
But then when they're done with the situation, they don't continue with the fight.
I agree with you 100%.
So I think it's a matter of really getting more and more people involved, and people really have to stick with this, and we have to get organized. I think that's another issue that we have, and is just organizing everybody and just improving the numbers.
Well, we're organized here at the GoPro Radio Network. I run an organization called the People's Advocacy Group. I've been in contact with Gary for some time, and Gary is pretty much organized. He even ran for office, and he should have got more support than what he got, but that's okay. Gary has a lot of energy, and he hasn't given up, and I hope, sir, you don't give up. Because we need everybody to come together.
No, I don't.
Yeah, we need everybody to come together.
Absolutely.
and we need to fight this thing.
And Don, thank you for all you do out in
absolutely.
Nassau County, because you're definitely a big supporter, and I know you help a lot of people, and it's difficult because you really experience the wrath of the court and what they've done to you and your son. I appreciate all that you do for standing up, and we just need more people to rally around us. Sonny's right, and you know what it takes. Unfortunately, you get famous people who have this happen to them, and they're the ones who can really be the voice and change it, and they speak out about it, like Alec Baldwin when the parental alienation happened to him.
Right.
He was on every radio show, CNN, every show talking about the injustice. As soon as this case was settled, the guy won't answer anybody's calls, and he doesn't speak out about it again. So, we need to have this, have people who are involved.
And they need to be
stand out for us.
consistent.
It's got to be consistent.
And one other thing, I really want to just go out on a limb and say that, guys, come on, wake up. There's a lot of groups, and there's a lot of organization, there's a lot of advocacy going on right in your neighborhood, right around the corner from you, right in your area. We need to support these people that are fighting for our rights. It's like, I don't know. It's like a war, and we're not giving the people that are fighting for us the bullets.
No, you can, right, and there's no excuse for it now, because anybody can go onto Facebook and just do a search for fathers' rights, family rights, corruption, people's advocacy group. There's plenty of people that you can get in contact with through Facebook. And you know what? Not everybody has the money. Show up at a rally. Show up at a protest.
That's right. Bodies count too.
Show up. I mean, Sonny's one of the people who came with me to court to support me. We call them court watchers. Judges love when there's nobody else in the courtroom, because you can't record it. So they control the testimony and what's on the record. But you know what? If you have 15 people or 20 people sitting in the courtroom, they're a lot more careful. And Sonny's done that with me. Came out from Brooklyn a couple times and sat in court with me. And it absolutely makes a difference for not only that the judges watch what they're doing, but also giving them support for the person standing there getting abused.
And we
by
understand
the
that the person, or a lot of people, have been hurt inside from this happening to them individually. But when you go out and support somebody else, you empower yourself. You empower that person that you're supporting, because they say, wait a minute, I'm not alone. All right, right on, brother.
Right. Well, we are a family of people who have been abused, and we need to stick together. That's the only way we're going to change, is if we all stick together and support each other. Even when we're done with it, you stick with it and you support people who are going through it.
Thank you for calling, caller.
Thanks, Don.
You're listening.
Yeah, thanks, Sonny.
Okay.
Thanks,
you're
Jack.
listening and you're viewing We the People on the GoPro Radio Network. It's every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And I want to get right back to my special guest, Gary Jacobs, from out of Long Island, New York. Gary, what can people do? What can fathers do, mothers do, parents do that are going through this right now?
Well, once you're involved, and unfortunately, once you're involved in the system, it's hard to get out, and it always takes two to settle. The best case scenario would be for people to say, look, we don't get along. Let's either go to a mediator. You really don't even need an attorney. You can sit down and say, look, we're going to share our children. And if you love your children, share the children, because the statistics are very clear. Children raised without fathers, the girls get pregnant, they have relationships with older men, they get into drugs, they have emotional problems, they have relationship problems their whole life. You're abusing your child to withhold one of the other parents. So if you love your children, put the anger aside and share custody with the other person. Go by what's fair, and you know what the other person needs to live on. It always bothers me. People go and they say, well, I only want what I deserve. Well, who says that you're or what I'm entitled to? Who says you're entitled to 28% of somebody's income? That's just an arbitrary number done by the court. You be fair. But for the people who are involved in it right now and are saying, this is helpless, right, I want to give up, you have to get somebody to help you who's not an attorney and who's been through this. And that's how, as you know, I found you through the People's Advocacy Group, because you're basically, I would call you a divorce coach, because you're a psychologist. You're taking care of the emotional needs, but you're also giving guidance, because when somebody is going through a divorce, it's probably one of the most stressful situations you'll ever be in your life. And we all know that in armies, people are trained how to deal with stressful situations because you're
That's
not
right.
thinking clearly
That's right.
when you're on. You're not healthy because your body is not healthy, but your mind is not
Yeah,
healthy.
because you're under a lot of stress.
You can't live, and these cases go on for years. My case is 11 years now. I think you've been going through a situation for longer than that.
Yes.
Your body cannot handle this kind of stress for so many years. So you're not thinking clearly. You can't listen to family members who haven't been through it because, as you said, they've been brainwashed to believe that there's justice. So you go to somebody like the People's Advocacy Group and you say, Sonny, what do I do? Do I let my lawyer keep writing letters because my lawyer says he wants to write a letter to
At
the other attorney?
$250 a letter.
$250 a letter. They send it to her lawyer. She responds, and everybody loves these letters back and forth. And one always has to be have more hatred, more vitriol than the other. And you say, my lawyer is great. He really suck it to that lawyer. And then the other lawyer has to one up you. And meanwhile, you're paying $250 every time, and you're both getting each other mad. They're getting each one of you riled up against each other.
And you're going into debt.
And you're just getting into debt. So you go to somebody like you, and you would say, hey, you know what? Stop the damn letters. Either sit down and settle it, or go to trial and get it over with.
Right.
But don't dissipate all your assets going through this thing for 2 or 3 years, going back to court till there's no money. And you need somebody to tell you this is the right decision, and also just to give you some control, because everyone will, the lawyers will always say it's very common in divorce. In my opinion, probably in a contentious divorce, 90% of the time there's no order of protection against the man. Just that's part of the game plan. All right, you want him out of the house? You want to get custody? Just go file for an order of protection. They'll give it a what?
But the psychological effect from being put out of your own house.
Right. And you're once you're out of your house, the woman knows that they call that the magic bullet. Start off fighting, but you can't get the guy out of the house. Get the order of protection. You'll keep him out of the house for 8 months. And what happens is when you go to trial, when you get ready for the trial, they say, look, don't plead guilty to this. If you go to trial, you're going to lose your kid. So
Right.
You're not going to plead guilty. You're just going to consent to the order of protection, but it's not pleading guilty, so don't worry about it.
Oh, that's a big mistake.
Big mistake.
Big
You
mistake.
sign this paper, and then the rest of your divorce, they go, look, Your Honor, I had an order of protection against him. That's the same as going to trial. He admitted guilt. And the lawyers
And a
do
lot
it
of
to their
people don't know
clients.
that they can fight the order of protection.
In my opinion, Sonny, and I don't know if you feel the same, if you didn't do it, go to trial.
Right.
There still has to be proof that you did something. And a lot of times you'd be surprised when it comes to something like that. Then sometimes they will do it even if there's no proof, but then you still have the appellate
Yes.
division. But a lot of times it's he said, she said. There needs to be proof, and do not ever plead guilty to something that you didn't do.
That's true. And don't give up. If you're not guilty and you want your children, you want to maintain a relationship with your children, you have to fight. You just have to fight. Justice is not going to be handed to you on a silver platter.
But absolutely, you're fighting for your life. You're fighting for
Yes.
your children. And even if you lose your children, which happens in many cases, whether it's through parental alienation syndrome, where one parent turns the child, usually it's the mother because they have the power to
Right.
do it, turns the children against the father, or it's getting CPS involved is another trick. Listen, if the order of protection doesn't work, let's go to number 2. What's the fallback? The fallback is we'll go to Child Protective Services and make some allegations against the father, and next thing you know, he's out of he's out of the house because CPS has no burden of proof.
Right.
They have people with 2-year college degrees. Most of them have.
And they're trying to tell you how to run your life.
They'll have an agenda. Who are they to say what's a good parent and what's not?
And
a
a
good
lot of them
parent?
are not even parents at all.
A lot of them aren't parents. They don't have the training. But again, the government should not be determining. We all know what child abuse is.
Yes.
Somebody's burning a kid or beating them or not feeding them. You know what? That we know. But these cases, if somebody spanks somebody, we all grew up being spanked, I think. Now if somebody spanks somebody, that's it. They're a child abuser and they're out of the house. If you punish somebody, you're violating your child's rights, or if you look in their bag, you're violating their privacy.
From Brooklyn, Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Apparently they're having some problems with the telephone lines. Maybe they just don't want us to talk about jobs in Crown Heights. But he is going to call if he doesn't make it on this show. What I'll probably do as an alternative is maybe ask him to come in next week, and he'll be here in person, hopefully, if his schedule will permit, and we'll talk about what he plans to do as the state committeeman. He's running in the 43rd district. His name is Moses Moore, a very good friend of mine, and he's been trying to get through. If you look at behind me, can we pan the camera behind me and maybe see his picture there, Moses Moore, for New York State committeeman? and Democratic District Leader for the 43rd AD District. That's out there in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Yeah, we're panning the camera now, if you can see that. My man, all right? He knows what the issues are, and he's done it, and he continues to do it. We need him in. People, let's get together. This is part of what we're talking about, making change, putting in the right people that's going to do the right thing. And with him, it's not about money, money, money. Okay, it's about doing the right thing for the people. He's a believer. He's down with the people, and he wants to see a change in Brooklyn. And maybe if he expands his horizons beyond Brooklyn, he'll see a change, or he'll make a change there too. We're here at the GoPro Radio. If you'd like to call in, it's 347-989-1737. And if you can get in real quick, we can probably tell you call. If not, I just want to say, Gary, you have any last closing comments?
But you have to take care of yourself emotionally going through this, and you need support of other people who have been through the system before, not only to give you advice and direction as which way to go legally, but also for the emotional
Yeah, that's
support.
the most important part,
because you need your sanity, and you
Right.
deserve to be happy. It doesn't matter what the courts tell you, that hey, it's all about your children. We all love our children, but you also need to be happy, and you deserve to be happy and healthy and go on with your life
Right.
after a divorce. So get support from other people. Never show up in court by yourself, because
Oh, that's like just going to a slaughterhouse by yourself. Forget it.
is.
It's over with.
Always get supporters, but not only family, but people from groups. There's a group called Americans for Legal Reform. You can look them up on the internet. Americans,
group.
the number 4,
Yeah.
Legal Reform. Carl Lancezera been doing this for almost 30 years now, and he supports people. But you need to be there for other people if you want people to be there for you. Get involved politically. You can reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. You can search Gary
You're
Jacobs.
all over Facebook,
I am
Gary.
on Facebook. I'm addicted. But you can go to search me, Gary Jacobs, in Smithtown, New York, or Gary Jacobs for Suffolk County Legislature. Find my page. But I'll help you get involved politically, because you can do what Moses is doing. You have to start. You can become a committee man, and we need average people running the government. We don't need attorneys all being our elected officials.
I got to jump in, Gary. Okay, this is the GoPro Radio Network out of Jersey City. You've been watching, listening to, viewing, logging on to We the People. It's every Wednesday at 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. I'd like to thank a list of people, especially the whole staff here at the GoPro Radio Network. And I'd like to thank my special guest for coming out, Gary Jacobs, all the way from Suffolk County, Long Island, New York. I want to thank Brother Joseph Cox. I want to thank Tyrone Cato. I'd like to thank Bishop Richard Hall from High Ground Ministries and his brother Grant Hall. I'd like to thank Bishop Kevin McCall, and I'd like to thank Mr. Tylon Washington. He is responsible for the GoPro Radio Network and doing a great job. Family, friends, and all my Facebook people, keep on keeping on. I'd like to say a special hello to Brian King, my attorney. And I'd like to say a very, very, very special hello to the godfather of the whole father's rights and shared parent movement, Dr. Monty Weinstein. And all the other various men group out there, let's work together. It's the GoPro Radio Network. My name is Sonny B. Sutherland Sr., and I have my son. Say hi, Jamel.
Hi.
And he's sitting here again with me in the studio, giving me all types of support. Don't forget, the GoPro Radio Network. Hot.